Hello everyone, welcome back to your channel name. Today we're diving into one of the most powerful yet challenging laws from the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Law number 2, never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. If you've ever wondered why relying on friends in competitive situations can sometimes backfire, or how turning an enemy into an ally could actually strengthen your position, this video is for you. We'll break down why this law is crucial for anyone looking to build influence, protect their goals, and master the art of power. So let's get into an even more detailed exploration of Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. From the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. This law reveals the complex realities of relationships within the game of power and highlights the strategic advantage of utilizing enemies over friends. Understanding the philosophy behind Law 2. The foundation of this law is the idea that personal relationships, especially friendships, can cloud one's judgment and impair decision-making in competitive or power-driven environments. Greene suggests that friendships are primarily built on emotional bonds, loyalty, and a sense of reciprocity, which can interfere with rational thinking and objectivity. Friends, as opposed to enemies, may not always act with the same level of clarity and motivation, especially when personal gain or competition is involved. In contrast, enemies do not carry these emotional expectations and are therefore often more predictable and controllable. Greene argues that friends, with their familiarity, may act in ways that are self-serving, unreliable, or even antagonistic when their needs are not met or when envy arises. Conversely, by turning an enemy into an ally, you may gain a highly motivated, reliable, and strategic partner who is grateful for the opportunity to reconcile and prove their worth. The dangers of over-reliance on friends in power dynamics. Unpredictability and complacency. Friends can often fall into complacency, expecting leniency or special treatment due to the friendship. This complacency can lead them to underperform, make errors, or fail to provide honest feedback. In competitive situations, friends might lack the incentive to challenge you, critique your ideas rigorously, or push themselves beyond their comfort zone, all of which could hinder your progress. Jealousy and entitlement. Friends can sometimes develop feelings of jealousy, particularly if they perceive you as more successful or privileged. They may feel entitled to benefits, promotions, or favors due to your shared bond. This entitlement can breed resentment, leading them to subtly undermine your success or, at the very least, fail to be fully supportive when you need it most. Risk of betrayal. History shows that some of the most notable betrayals come from those closest to a person. Friends have a unique level of access to personal details, ambitions, and vulnerabilities, which, if misused, can cause irreparable damage. Greene argues that the very familiarity that bonds friends can also lead to betrayal, when ambition or personal gain is at stake. A friend's betrayal is often more damaging because they know your weak points intimately. Emotional blind spots. With friends, it's natural to develop a certain level of trust, often leading to emotional blind spots. These can impair your objectivity, making it difficult to see flaws, potential weaknesses, or even manipulative tendencies in a friend's actions. This is why Greene advises keeping a measured distance from friends in matters of power. This distance allows you to maintain clarity and control. The strategic advantage of using enemies. Predictability and motivation. Enemies are usually straightforward in their motivations. If an enemy joins your side, their actions are typically driven by a clear incentive to prove themselves and maintain their newly earned position. Unlike friends, they are keenly aware that any misstep could cost them your trust, so they're often more disciplined, careful, and attentive in their work. Stronger loyalty. Over time, when an enemy is converted into an ally, they often feel indebted to you for allowing them the chance to prove themselves. This loyalty can deepen over time, as they feel they have been given a second chance or a platform to rise. Some of the most loyal followers historically have been former enemies who are grateful for the opportunity to be part of a larger vision or purpose. Enhanced power. Through reconciliation. When you openly reconcile with an enemy, it shows that you are secure, wise, and confident in your own power. The act of forgiveness in this case is a sign of strength, and it often leaves other people impressed and respectful. By transforming former adversaries into allies, You elevate your standing and reinforce your reputation as a person who is above petty grudges and capable of seeing the bigger picture. Diverse perspectives. Enemies often bring a fresh or critical perspective to your side. Their input can serve as a counterbalance to ideas and assumptions that friends might accept without question. This diversity of thought can lead to stronger decision-making, as your former adversaries may provide insights or challenges that strengthen your strategic approach. Emotional detachment. Separating sentiment from strategy. Keeping a professional distance. Law 2 emphasizes the need to maintain a professional distance with friends, especially in competitive or strategic environments. Emotional attachments in decision-making often lead to biased judgments, and friends might either expect leniency or manipulate the bond to their advantage. By keeping a certain distance, you allow yourself the space to make calculated, unbiased choices that best serve your interests. Practical over emotional connections. Greene advises prioritizing practical benefits over emotional connections in relationships tied to power. This does not mean you should not have friends or treat them with respect. Instead, it means maintaining a level of objectivity and control. In matters where power, career growth, or personal advancement are at stake, it's essential to avoid allowing personal feelings to interfere. By doing so, you protect yourself from possible exploitation or disappointment, ensuring that decisions are based on merit and strategic value rather than friendship. Avoiding unnecessary complications. Relying heavily on friends in the power game can lead to complicated situations. Friends may find themselves in conflicts of interest, torn between personal loyalty and professional obligations. By keeping friendships separate from critical decisions, you avoid putting them in a position where they might have to choose between their friendship with you and their own self-interests. Historical examples of Law 2 in action. Napoleon Bonaparte. One of the most famous examples of using enemies effectively comes from Napoleon. He often placed former rivals in high-ranking positions within his army. Napoleon understood that these men, once adversaries, now had to work twice as hard to earn his trust and loyalty. This strategic move minimized the risk of betrayal from his inner circle and ensured that those around him were motivated by the opportunity to prove themselves worthy. Additionally, these former enemies were less likely to become complacent or entitled, unlike close friends. Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals. During his presidency, Lincoln famously included several of his political rivals in his cabinet, such as Secretary of State William H. Seward and Secretary of the Treasury Salmon P. Chase. Lincoln's reasoning was strategic. By bringing in capable men who had once opposed him, he strengthened his administration with diverse viewpoints and created a balanced team. Lincoln's former rivals, now turned allies, had a vested interest in proving their loyalty and dedication, especially as he valued their insights and perspectives. Cesare Borgia and his ruthless pragmatism. The infamous Italian nobleman Cesare Borgia practiced this law with ruthless effectiveness. When he encountered opposition, he often used calculated measures to turn his enemies into loyal supporters. He was known for sparing certain rivals and enlisting them as allies, which demonstrated his power and fostered a sense of loyalty among those he spared. However, Borgia would never hesitate to act if an enemy or friend posed a threat. His approach was a calculated balance of using enemies while remaining emotionally detached, securing his authority and reputation. Queen Elizabeth I and diplomatic alliances. Queen Elizabeth I of England skillfully used alliances with former adversaries to her advantage. During her reign, she strategically shifted her alliances among European powers, including former rivals such as Spain and France, based on England's needs. She recognized that by turning enemies into allies, she could better secure her kingdom's position, adapting her strategy based on evolving political circumstances. This shrewd approach allowed her to maintain stability and assert her strength in a period of intense rivalry. Practical applications of Law 2 in modern life, corporate and workplace strategy. In corporate settings, people often place excessive trust in close colleagues or friends. This can lead to biased judgments, favoritism, or compromised decisions. Law 2 suggests that in professional environments, especially in leadership positions, it is wise to balance the team with individuals who bring a range of perspectives, even if they have been critical of you in the past. This approach encourages a more rigorous and balanced team dynamic, reducing the risk of complacency or unchallenged ideas. Negotiation and business partnerships. Relying solely on friends or familiar associates in business can sometimes hinder effective negotiations. In contrast, a partnership with former competitors or critics may encourage a more serious and professional approach. These adversaries turned allies will likely remain motivated and vigilant, aware that any error could compromise the partnership. In this way, converting former rivals into allies fosters a heightened level of diligence and performance, benefiting both parties. Political and social movements. Leaders in political or social movements often find themselves in complex alliances. Rather than relying solely on close allies or friends, savvy leaders build coalitions with those who might have initially opposed their ideas. This approach brings a broader spectrum of support and reduces the risk of echo chambers. By incorporating critics or former opponents, leaders can demonstrate open-mindedness and strength, gaining wider respect and legitimacy. Personal boundaries and relationships. On a personal level, maintaining clear boundaries with friends can prevent misunderstandings and conflicts in situations involving money, work, or other sensitive matters. While it's natural to seek support from friends, Greene's principle encourages caution in entrusting friends with critical roles where power and stakes are high. For example, if managing a business or family inheritance, relying on the expertise of professionals, even former rivals, over close friends, can ensure impartiality and professionalism, balancing friendship and strategy law. 2 does not suggest abandoning or distrusting friends entirely, but rather urges a thoughtful approach to managing these relationships. Friendship is valuable for personal support and companionship, but when it comes to competitive or strategic arenas, trusting friends too much can lead to complications, favoritism, and conflicts of interest. Greene's advice is to keep friendships in one sphere and power-related matters in another. This compartmentalization allows you to enjoy friendships without sacrificing objectivity in strategic decisions. Similarly, the law does not suggest befriending all enemies or taking unnecessary risks. The idea is to identify those enemies who can be converted into allies and who may serve your purpose better than friends in certain contexts. Choosing enemies wisely, extending an offer, and turning them into allies should be a calculated, gradual process rather than a hasty decision. This way, you minimize risks and retain control over the relationship. The mastery of law. 2. The mastery of law 2 lies in its ability to teach self-discipline, emotional intelligence, and strategic thinking in the realm of relationships. Recognizing the limitations of friendships and understanding the value of strategically used enemies can elevate your ability to handle power. It highlights the importance of setting boundaries, maintaining objectivity, and carefully assessing motivations in others. By learning to balance relationships without becoming overly reliant on either friends or enemies, you cultivate a more resilient and adaptable approach to power. The deeper message of Law 2 is that true power lies in detachment and control over one's own emotions and alliances. By not letting friendship dictate strategic decisions, and by converting enemies into loyal allies, you demonstrate the qualities of a skilled strategist, one who values pragmatism, foresight, and clarity over sentiment. This law reminds us that in the pursuit of power, we must look beyond personal attachments and view relationships through a lens of calculated opportunity, turning potential threats into assets while guarding against betrayal. In the world of power dynamics, it's vital to balance your relationships carefully. Friends can sometimes bring in risks you don't see, and enemies can be motivated allies when given the chance. Law number 2 teaches us to stay objective, set boundaries, and use both friends and enemies to our advantage. Remember, it's not about distrusting everyone, but about staying aware and keeping emotions in check. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this insight, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.